I know a lot of you enjoyed seeing Granny's recent birthday. Well, Granny wasn't the only one that had a birthday on March 6th. The Blind Pig and the Acorn, my blog, turns 16 years. Is almost unheard of as a blogger. So way back in 2008, I started the Blind Pig and the Acorn. This time of the year, of course, I think about Granny with her birthday, but I also think about the blog and think about how in the world have I kept it up all this time. And, I think of all the things in my personal life that's happened during that time, different jobs that I had, raising kids, all the gardens I've planted and the suppers I've cooked and the houses I've cleaned and all that kind of stuff. In the beginning, I cleaned houses, is what I did for extra money. Anyway, lots of those things go through my mind. A few days ago, Corey and I were talking about YouTube, of course, because the girls have a channel, the Presley Girls, and I have this channel. We often talk about, share tidbits that we heard about this or that on YouTube. And Corey said she had noticed a trend that people had been doing videos kind of titled, How YouTube Changed My Life. And I really got to thinking about that after she shared that with me. And, I thought YouTube has drastically changed my life. And, kind of combination of thinking of that and the Blind Pig and the Acorn turning 16, I decided I wanted to share my thoughts with you on both of those. Primarily focusing on how YouTube has really changed my life. But I got to start way back then, way back at 2008. So I've shared this in maybe a few videos, but a lot of people are new to the channel, and so hopefully this will give you some insight into that. And if you've not ever visited my blog, please do, Blind Pig and the Acorn. The link is always in the description below. But in 2008, I had kind of went through a rough patch of life, and I was looking for something to, I guess, just bring me back to the land of the living, if you will. And I first found out about blogs from, I knew about them sort of, but I thought they were all political in nature, news related or political or something like that. And at that time, Corey and Katie clogged for the John C. Campbell Folk School. They were on a clogging team. And one of the other mothers would talk to me, at clogging practice, and she told me about her blog. And she was blogging, at that time she was making soap to sell, so she was promoting that. She's a beautiful quilter too. But also, her family lived not near us here in Cherokee County. They lived somewhere else, so it gave her family a way of kind of giving a peek into her life and, her children's lives, so that they could kind of see that. Anyway, I loved her blog, and then from that, as you might imagine, I went to this blog and that blog and this blog, and I found there was this whole community out there of bloggers that were talking about everything from, like she was, kind of her family and her soap at the time, to, you name it. There was political and news-related ones, but, there was people homesteading, and there was people recipe blogs, and just all manner of things. Well, that got me to thinking about something that I'd always been real passionate about, was my culture here in Appalachia, in the Appalachian Mountains. My father, Pap, really raised my brothers and I to appreciate where we lived, and Granny did too, but Pap kind of focused more on it, and to kind of be proud of who we are, not in the sense that we were better than anybody else, but proud in the manner that you often hear that word used in the mountains of Appalachia, which is really a way of saying happy or pleased, to be pleased with our lot in life. And then I had a college class when I was in college about Appalachian studies, which really made me, Mr. Cabe was my professor, great professor, but really made me realize that we did have some distinct, from the way we speak to the foods we eat, the music, all those wonderful things. It made me really, really think about it. So that's kind of where I started really, I guess, researching and paying attention to things. But then in 2008, when I was introduced to blogs, I remembered all that. I'd even kept all my papers from Mr. Cape's class. I was just so, it was a class I didn't even need to take, and I ended up taking it just because I needed an elective. I wasn't interested in it, but it just turned out to be the kind of the starting point of the change of my life, if you will. Anyway, so in 2008, when I found out about the blogs, I decided that that's what I wanted to do. Maybe I could talk about Appalachia, and I could, not talking about I've always decided for me, there's plenty of people out there talking about all the problems and the tough issues, and there is, just in Appalachia, just like anywhere else, there's people with problems. You think about the drug issues, and there's people that are great people, and there's people that are not so good. But overall, it's just such a wonderful place, and that's what I wanted to focus on. And even way back then, that was like my mission statement, if you will, my endeavor was to celebrate the wonderful culture and heritage of Appalachia as a whole entire region. So I was able to, with the help of a local college, Tri-County Community College, their small business center, I was able to actually start the blog. Well, in the beginning, I thought, maybe I could make money doing this. And I cleaned houses at that time and babysit a little boy and things like that. But I thought maybe I could actually make money to support my family. Well, that didn't really happen. Although I made some over the years, I didn't never make enough to actually pay for my time and the money it takes when you think about hosting and the website and all those sort of things. Anyway, what I did gain, though, was a great wealth of friendships with people and like-minded people that wanted to talk about the good things in Appalachia, also that wanted to maybe just learn about Appalachia. They didn't know. They wasn't familiar with it. Maybe they were, I remember one person that was in Australia and they were doing genealogy and they traced their family back to the mountains of Appalachia. So they became an avid reader just because they knew that maybe, of course, separated by generations, some things had changed, but that probably their ancestors liked and enjoyed some of the same things that I talked about. Another thing that I quickly learned with the blog, which was really amazing, is that I had people who said, maybe they grew up just over the mountain from me, or maybe, the more northern part of Appalachia, or maybe even a little bit more southern than I am in the Appalachian mountain chain. And they really, through my blog, began to appreciate their culture, where before they kind of been embarrassed and maybe they tried to change the way they talked, or they just didn't talk about what Mama and Papa did or anything like that. And they come to a new, see it in a new light, if you will. And then I also had people who stumbled on my blog and thought, well, this is different than the Appalachia that I see portrayed in movies and videos and books and things like that. This is really just a different area. So that was really, really rewarding. I've always said that those kind of things, often there's like a cardboard cutout of Appalachia held up for the reality, and it's just not true. Like I said, Appalachia certainly has its problems, but there's so much goodness that abounds. So what happened next is I did not end up making money from the blog like I had hoped, but I did have such a passion and I really enjoyed it, so I just continued doing it, day after day. And during that time, I decided I was going to go back to school. Corey and Katie, after a few years of that, they got older and they were in high school, and I went back to school, and then I ended up working at the college. So I worked at the college, had a full-time job, and I did the blog, and, we played music, and we gardened and all that. My life was very full and very wonderful. I've had a very blessed life. And I continued just doing that and hoping that someday something would, maybe happen. But even if it didn't, I was satisfied with working full-time to pay the bills, but also doing the blog because it was such a passion, and really gained so much knowledge about all the areas of Appalachia. And of course, I was continuing to research, and people sharing their stories with me. It was just wonderful. And then through the blog, just like I do on the channel, of course, I shared about my family. So it's really kind of an archival as far as my thoughts and stuff like that. If Corey and Katie, they can go back, or anybody in my family, and read what I was thinking about this or that. So that just continued, and I really, really enjoyed it. Then eventually I left the college and I went to work at the John C. Campbell Folk School, still doing the blog full-time. That was a full-time job, and I really learned a lot there. And I should say that at the college and at the folk school both, I worked in marketing. So I had my hands in, my daily task was learning, whether it was about video or about, web design. And that was also my degree was web design and computer technology. So all that benefited me, I was learning constantly. About 2018, when I was by then working at the folk school, one of my friends, actually from Tri-County, still friends with her today, close friend, she was going to have a class, Financial Peace University, I think that's it. I may be saying it backwards, but that's Dave Ramsey. And she needed an extra couple to take her class. When she first asked me, I said, Matt won't do it, Julia, he just won't do it. And so she just went on and asked somebody else, and I never even asked Matt if he would, and I just assumed he wouldn't do it. He doesn't go in for things like that usually, as far as not that he wouldn't want to learn, but he's just not much of a person to take a class with a bunch of other people. Anyway, so then she asked me again. She was desperate. She needed one more couple. And I said, okay, I'll ask him, but he's going to say no. Well, surprise to me, I should have asked him the first time. He said, sure, I'll do it. And so we took that class, and it just totally changed the way we thought about things. And I have a video where we talk about that, so I'll link to it. Anyway, so I won't go into all that. But then when we become encouraged and decided we were going to get out of debt, the first thing we did was get rid of our TV. You know, that was one payment we have to have. Where I'm at in a rural area, it was satellite TV, and that was one cost we didn't need. We got rid of it. We had to have the internet. We had to have internet service for the blog that I was still doing, and for Corey and Katie for their homework, you know. So what we started quickly doing was watching YouTube, and realized, oh my goodness, there's homesteaders, there's Matt Loves the Hunting channels and the logging channels and those sort of things. Just about anything you can think of, you know, if you visit YouTube often, you know what's on here. So we started doing that. I continued working at the folk school, enjoying it, everything. And then the pandemic happened, 2020, pandemic happened. I was really lucky that I got to work at home. You know, I got to work at home. The folk school let me bring my computer home, set it right here beside me. This was my office here on the kitchen table, and I got to continue to work all through that, and I was really grateful for that. Well, during that time, I really, because I was at home, I was working, but then also I just got to be at home. So if I wanted to take a walk out, you know, instead of at the folk school, I could take a walk around there. But now I could just take a walk around my yard and look. And I was here to put on a pot of beans or whatever, you know. It just really made me remember how much I love to be at home with my family and to be doing for them. That was what I was always, when I had Corey and Katie, I felt like, you know, a light from heaven shined on me and said, this is what you were made for. This is, you know, it's just the most rewarding, fulfilling thing. So I had all those feelings again. And because me and Matt had been watching YouTube for so long, then by then we'd realized there's people that are doing this that for like full time, they're making money from it somehow. They're making money. And, you know, we've discovered, oh, well, there's ads on the videos. That's how they're making money. And, you know, maybe they're selling stuff or whatever. So all those things are going around in mine and Matt's mind. And then also by then, we had almost got out of debt, which was glorious. Well, because of the pandemic, Miss Cindy still had her house in Black Mountain, North Carolina that she rented. And she had always told us, you know, told Matt, he's the only child, that was like his inheritance. That would be his inheritance. But she took care of she had someone managing it, and it was rented. And she decided that because the pandemic everything just seemed so crazy, and, you know, we were unsure, that she wanted to go ahead and sell the house. So she did. So when she did that, we were able to pay our mortgage off, you know, 'cause it was just wonderful. So that took like the pressure of that off. So then we just kept debating about the YouTube. Now we were a little bit familiar with YouTube because go back to 2008, I started a YouTube channel then because in all the things I wanted to celebrate about Appalachia, my family's music had to be at the top of the list. We're a very musical family. So I knew I wanted to share videos on my blog. Well, it gets complicated kind of, but think of like maybe your closet at home or something. If you wanted to share all these extra things, but you only had this much space, and website, I'm thinking like the hosting, I couldn't put all the videos on there because very quickly my hosting would just be, nobody would host me, it'd be too much. And then of course I could buy my own servers and all that, but it'd be way too expensive, especially in those days when things were really tight. So anyway, I ended up, even then, back in 2008, I started the Blind Pig and the Acorn YouTube channel, which is where it's an archive of all of our family's music. You can go back and see Corey and Katie when they're really young. You can see Pap. And that link's always in the description below too. Anyway, so I was familiar with that. So my first thought, of course, is, well, if I want to branch out into this new area, when me and Matt would see all these homesteaders and people like that, or the loggers, or whoever it was we were watching, we both thought, well, the blog, you could do it in video form, which is a vlog. You could do that. And so we just kept kicking that around in our minds. And when we first thought about it, of course, I thought, well, I already have the YouTube channel, Blind Pig and the Acorn. But then as time went on, I realized, but that's really an archive of our music. And do I want to add all this other stuff to it? So we decided, no, we didn't. We wanted to leave it just like it is. It's not even monetized or anything, just exactly like it is, and continue to add music to it. Paul pretty much, my brother Paul pretty much manages that one now. Anyway, so then we decided because of Miss Cindy, you know, we were out of debt. Maybe we could spend the money on a camera and things like that, and try to just see what happened with YouTube. We didn't know what would happen, but we started the Celebrating Appalachia channel there in 2020. I think it was like in July of 2020. And quickly we got monetized. By January we were monetized. And you have to, at that time you had to have 4,000 hours of watch time. Corey, tell me if I'm wrong. What did we have to have?
It was 4,000 watch hours, 1,000 subs.
Okay, I was right. 4,000 hours of watch time and 1,000 subs. I think it's kind of changed now, but that's what you had to have at that time. Well, because I had all those years of being online with the Blind Pig and the Acorn and all that, I quickly reached that, which was just really a real blessing. I know a lot of people that start YouTube, it's tougher because they don't, I kind of had like an online following already, which made it so much easier for me. A lot of times it's really difficult for people. Anyway, so by January, I was monetized and I started making money. Not much at first, but you know, we could kind of see maybe this is actually going to work. And so by June of that year, we seen, you know, why not take this chance? Because it was really hard to have the full-time job. I was still working for the folk school and do videos. The thing about videos is a lot of people think, well, and I didn't realize until I actually started doing them, it is so much work. It's so much work to edit, to film, to think of what you're going to do, to set up the scene. I mean, it is a full-time, to manage the channel, all those things. It really is a 40-hour a week, if not more, job to be a YouTuber if you upload regularly and you're really doing it like a business. So that was really difficult, and I didn't upload as much then as I do now, but me and Matt realized, you know, we're just going to have to step out on faith and feel like this is what God wants us to do, and I'm going to have to leave the folk school and focus on this full time. So I did. In June of 2021, I left the folk school, and it was kind of scary, but it was also amazing to be able to just focus all my energy on Celebrating Appalachia. Kind of why I continued to do the blog, but I had so much more time to focus on doing videos, on, you know, interviewing people, whether I was cooking something. Had more time to focus on our garden, which if you watch our videos, you know, making a garden is a huge part of our content and what we do, just a huge part of our life to feed our family from the things that we grow. So I had so much more time to just focus on all that. And I never, for one time, regretted leaving. I've never regretted it. And God's blessed us so much that it truly, because of the income that I've earned from YouTube, just immediately changed my whole life. It was just the most rewarding thing. I didn't know at that time what a gift that was. I have to watch it. I'll start crying. What a gift that was. Anyway, I'll get to that in a moment. So I enjoyed so much, and it just made our lives so much easier and better. Well, as soon as and I say that because it give me a opportunity to be here and kind of keep the home fires burning, if you will. I don't know how else to describe it, but I was here to handle anything that needed to be done. I don't know if you've ever been in a position, you probably have, where like when me and Matt both worked a full-time job, it's hard. It's hard to get everything done, and if there's something that needs to be done in the day, but you're both at work and you can't really take off, all that is just difficult. So that, it just made it so much easier, all that. Well, so I continued to do that all the way through the rest of that year, never regretting leaving. And then through 2022, same thing, just the channel continued to grow. We reached 100,000, and then we reached 200,000, and we reached 250,000. Just wonderful times on as far as YouTube goes, just wonderful growth for us, and we're so thankful and so blessed for it. Well, I say that I didn't know ahead of time what I was going to need. That extra time for. Now, in the beginning, it was nice. Granny needed to go to the doctor a lot. I'd just take Granny to the doctor. I'd have to take off work. So that was nice in the beginning, just taking her for regular appointments and all that. But by the end of 2022, Miss Cindy, Matt's mother, we thought at first that she was having dementia. We found out pretty quickly that it was not dementia, it was cancer that had already went to her brain. So then, what a blessing that I had this flexible job where I could just take off. I could take her to the doctors. I could take her food to eat when she could still stay by herself. Once she couldn't stay by herself, I could just go stay. We could take turns. It just turned out to be such a wonderful blessing for us. to be able to do that. Again, I feel like God's hand was like in all this, all the way back from 2008 to my rough patch of life, how he just guided me through all this and blessed me. And I just can't even explain how grateful I am to God and for all the many, many blessings. But once I seen how wonderful it was for me to be here, of course, we started dreaming about the day that Matt could come home. What if we could make this happen so that he could come home and he could help me, and this could be, like a joint effort. That's what we started dreaming about. So that was our dream. We just kept thinking, like trying to figure it out. And then it's so scary. It was scary enough for me to leave my full-time job, but then we thought about Matt leaving his, and then we would, what would you do for insurance, and what if something happened, and finally, we both agreed, well, he's just going to have to step out on faith too, and we're just going to have to do this. Well, about the time that he'd kind of thought about turning his notice in and letting everybody know, his boss, Justin, had been diagnosed with cancer, and he just got really worse, and bless his heart, he ended up passing away, and still so sad for his family. He was young, he was only 40, and, had children, and wonderful wife, and beautiful boys, so I know they still miss him so much. But that was right when he got really sick and he couldn't work anymore. Well, then if Matt had left, it would have been leaving the county kind of in a bind, so he said, I just can't do it, I can't leave. So he kind of stepped into, Justin was his supervisor, stepped into Justin's place, and, things he just didn't feel like he could do that to the county. I said, okay, that's good, you need to do what you feel like you got to do. So we just kind of continued what we were doing, with me kind of keeping everything going here and Matt helping me when we could, especially on the weekends is mostly when we did all the videos with Matt in it, but still felt really blessed for everything. Well, then in 2023, last year, things kind of culminated with, it was the year of happy and sad, because by that point Miss Cindy's cancer had got worse, and it was, even in the beginning when we first found out, it was to the point that she'd done all the treatments, they thought she might live a year. She didn't want to do any treatments. She didn't want to go through all that, so that was her choice that she made. So right about the time that we were having to kind of stay with Miss Cindy all the time, my cookbook, mine and Jim Casta's cookbook, come out. Now, Jim is a longtime reader of The Blind Pig and the Acorn, and that's actually how we met. Him and his brother Don found my blog, and we got to meet each other and become like family over the years. Really treasured friends, and Jim's been my mentor, and he had always encouraged me to write a book, and I just say, okay, someday I will. Now, Jim, that was his profession. He was a writer. That was his career, was a writer, so he knew all the ins and outs and all that. But finally, he told me, he said, Tipper, if you'll write a cookbook, we'll write it together. Is the way he approached it. I knew he thought that he was being smart and kind of pulling the wool over my eyes. I knew from the beginning. I thought, now you finally realized I'm never going to do this unless you just hold my hand and do it with me. And that's what it was. Anyway, there's a video about that too if you're interested, the details about the cookbook. But so by May of 2023, the cookbook published, and it did so well, so well. Sadly, we lost Miss Cindy in June, so that was just all that together, all that coming together. But with the success of the cookbook, then it can become even more obvious that Matt he could really come home, he really could. And so in August of 2023, he left his job and he come home to work with me. And it's been so wonderful. We've not regretted 1 minute of it. We've not, thanks to all of you, you're part of this too. You've supported us in a manner that we've not, not had to worry about as far as financial things goes or anything like that. Now, being out of debt certainly helps with all that because we don't have any debt. But it's been such a blessing, and I can't even imagine. I mean, even me sitting here telling you, I'm like, is this real? Is this for real? Do I really get paid to do my passion? Do I get paid to talk about Appalachia and show you my family and show you what I cook for supper and, talk about making a garden, which I'm just crazy about, and I can't believe that I get to grow stuff and that the good Lord made it like that where we can grow things that we eat. Do I really get paid for that? I mean, it's just an amazing, amazing thing, and I'm so blessed. And, if I go back to that first month that I got paid, I kind of felt guilty in some way. It's strange to say that because I'd done the video. I'd been working since that past July on videos and was so nervous to do videos. I look back at some of them and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, why did anybody watch them? They're so terrible. But I was I'd done all that work, but yet I kind of felt embarrassed. But then one day, I feel like God probably told me this because I was kind of feeling guilty about it. He reminded me, do you remember where you come from back in 2008? Do you remember the brokenness? You know, do you remember that? And then between 2008 and that time, do you remember all the hours that you put in hard work on the blog? Researching, interviewing people, taking pictures, fighting website problems, you know, paying for hosting, wondering why I was doing it when I had a full-time job and my weekends would have been easier if I didn't have to worry about the next week's post and all that. So then I thought, no, I did work. I worked at that time, I guess that would have been like 14 years. I'd worked 14 years or maybe 15 years. No, it wouldn't have been 14. 13 or 14 years. Time goes by so fast, hard for me to remember. But I'd worked all that time. I'd put in all those hours. So yeah, I did deserve to get paid, you know. I kind of had to have my moment and have God explain to me and show me, let me look back over where he had guided me so many times that I just can't even comprehend it. That's how it is though often if you are a believer, how God kind of leads you through your life and feels like you're in the trenches and you just can't get up and can't get ahead, and then but you can look back and see the hand of God. I certainly can. It's just an amazing thing, and I'm so grateful for it. One other thing that is amazing about the reach of YouTube, now my blog feels like now that I'm doing both, feels like more of an intimate kind of family little place. But YouTube, I don't know if you've ever done the stats or heard anybody, it's like it has reached the point that it is the largest search engine now. So for somebody that wants to fix their washing machine, that wants to fix their car, that wants to know how to make a garden, that wants to know how to make cornbread, they'll go to YouTube and see if they can find a video, because then there's somebody teaching them how to do it. So amazing. It's like mind-blowing. If you just do a little search, you can find it. How many videos are uploaded every minute to YouTube? It's become so big, so huge. Well, that means, for one thing, like for people like me, there's more people to watch my videos to help me. But then it also kind of means that there's, sometimes things don't go like you would want as far as comments and the things that people say or do to you, those kind of things. But the great thing for me is those things that I experienced on the Blind Pig and the Acorn, they've been amplified. I have such a wonderful community here on YouTube, just beautiful, beautiful community. You've supported us in so many different ways, from watching the videos and giving us subscribing and giving us the thumbs up, all those things that help us as far as the algorithm goes. But then you've been so kind. You've shared your love with us. You've gifted us with things, so many different things. It's just an amazing thing. And then go back to those stereotypes that I was talking about, that from the blog, that I felt like I was maybe helping dispel. Then that has just been broadened out to a whole worldwide. I've had so many people comment and tell me that all I see is what all I know about the Appalachian Mountains is what I see on TV or what I read or what I've seen in a magazine, and I'm really surprised. I've been watching you, and you're a real loving family and seem to be doing great and all that. So many people have told me that, and that's just been so rewarding that, I feel like my endeavor all those years ago in 2008, where I wanted to really dispel some of those stereotypes and to make people realize what a wonderful area it is, really worth celebrating, our wonderful culture and heritage. So I feel like that's one of my greatest achievements, that I've actually had people tell me that. I'm always just thrilled when someone tells me, I thought Appalachia was a really bad place, and I see that it's not, and I'm sorry that I thought that, but I'm glad you educated me, so that's been really, really wonderful. I hope you kind of enjoyed me talking about this. You can tell I get really passionate about it. I get really, teary-eyed, of course, when I think about the things like Miss Cindy and how wonderful that God shaped that part of my life so that I could help care for her and do all the things she needed. And then when I think about 2008 till now, just how I've been able to really focus my life on celebrating the wonderfulness that you can find in the Appalachian Mountains. And I'm so grateful to all of you who watch my videos, who help me with this endeavor. You really do help me celebrate Appalachia. And now that I've shared my whole story there with you and told you why YouTube changed my life, it truly has in such an amazing way. I'm sure that maybe there's questions about maybe the blog, or maybe about my journey, or maybe about how we actually do videos or something like that. If you have any of those questions, I'll be glad to answer them if I can, if it's something that I can. If you'll leave your question in one of the comments below, I'll try to collect them, and then I'll try to do a future video and answer those. I know when you think about it, 16 years is a long time to celebrate Appalachia, and I'm sure that I left out pieces, or maybe you have questions about the technical side or something like that. But just leave those questions below, and I'll try to answer them in a future video. And I'm always grateful when you stop by to help me celebrate Appalachia.